Have you ever looked around and noticed how some people seem to move through life surrounded by a cloud of chaos? They are magnets for drama, for misunderstandings, and for difficult, demanding personalities. It's as if they carry an invisible sign that only emotional predators can read. Then there are other people. They walk through the same world, work in the same offices, and navigate the same social circles, yet they seem almost invisible to this type of person. They are not aggressive or intimidating. They are often quiet, calm, and self-contained. Drama simply doesn't stick to them. They have a kind of psychological Teflon. Observing these two kinds of people, you have to wonder, what is the difference? It isn't luck. It isn't a coincidence. It is a signal. And perhaps in watching this dynamic play out, you've felt a sense of uneasy recognition. Perhaps that feeling of being constantly drained, of being targeted for your kindness, and of being pulled into games you never wanted to play feels deeply familiar. You try to be a good person, to be fair and understanding, but somehow you always find yourself on the defensive, exhausted and depleted. If any of that rings true, then understand this. You are not being targeted because you are weak. You are being targeted because you are broadcasting a powerful signal of emotional generosity, a signal that manipulators are expertly designed to detect and exploit. The ancient Stoics, some of the most astute observers of human psychology, identified this pattern over 2,000 years ago. They taught that the ultimate defense was not to fight back, not to build walls of anger, but to change the signal you send out. They mastered the art of building an inner citadel, a psychological fortress so secure and self-reliant that it offers nothing for a predator to latch onto. To construct this fortress, you must first understand the enemy's strategy. You need to know what they are truly hunting for. What is the fuel they need to survive? And what have you been giving them for free? The answer to that question is the first step to reclaiming your power and becoming once and for all invisible to those who live in the shadows. So what is the signal? What are these emotional predators actually hunting for when they scan a room? It's not weakness. It's not money. It's not status. It's something far more valuable to them. It's one word: fuel. Toxic people, manipulators, and emotional vampires are fundamentally running on empty. They lack a stable source of internal validation and self-worth. To survive, they must extract this energy from others. And this fuel comes in many forms. It's your anger. It's your frustration. It's your desperate attempts to explain yourself and be understood. It's your fear of their silence, their disapproval, their abandonment. Most of all, the highest grade of fuel is your need for their approval. From a young age, we are taught to live by an external scorecard. We measure our worth by our grades, by our job titles, by the number of likes on a photo, and by what other people think of us. We are trained to constantly look outside of ourselves to see if we are okay. This dependency is the signal. A manipulator has a radar that is exquisitely tuned to detect it. They can sense, almost instantly, who in a room is living by that external scorecard. They can feel who is hanging on their every word, desperate for a nod of approval and terrified of a frown. They choose you not because you are weak, but because you have been taught to place your sense of self-worth in their hands. The Stoic philosopher Seneca diagnosed this condition with brutal clarity nearly 2,000 years ago. He wrote, A man is as unhappy as he has convinced himself he is. Think about what that means. It is not the manipulator's insult that causes the deepest pain. It is your own pre-existing belief that you need their praise for you to feel whole. It is not their silent treatment that creates the anxiety. It is your conviction that you need their attention to feel safe and validated. You have convinced yourself that you need something from them. And the moment you need something from someone, you have given them power over you. This is the entire game. They don't have to take power. We are trained to offer it to them freely. Recognizing this is the most important step. You are not a magnet for drama. You have simply been playing a game with rules designed by someone else, using a scorecard that ensures you will always lose. So if the root of the problem is this endless draining search for external fuel, the solution becomes blindingly clear. You must learn to generate your own. How do you do that? You do it by building something inside yourself that they can never touch. You begin the most important work of your life, the construction of your inner citadel. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, perhaps the most powerful man in the world at the time, faced betrayal, political intrigue, and constant pressure. Yet he wrote to himself constantly about the one place no one could ever conquer, his inner citadel. This citadel is not a wall of anger or unfeeling detachment. It is a fortress built on a single revolutionary principle, a radical redefinition of what you want. Its foundation is the clear-eyed understanding that the world is divided into two parts, that which is in your control and that which is not. Your inner citadel is built exclusively on the territory you command, your beliefs, your intentions, your choices, your responses, and your character. Everything else, what other people say, what they do, their opinions, their moods, their approval, is outside of your walls. You can be affected by these things, but they do not have to enter your fortress unless you grant them permission. Toxic people are masters at getting you to abandon your own fortress and live your life in their territory, desperately hoping they will give you what you need to feel safe. Today that ends. The construction begins now, with a simple but profound exercise. This is the blueprint. I want you to take out a piece of paper or open a note on your phone. You are going to create two lists. On the first list, write the heading, Things I Want from Others. This is where you list the levers they use against you. Be brutally honest. I want them to see my worth. I want them to apologize. I want them to be fair. I want them to like me. I want them to change. Now on the second list, write the heading, Things I Demand from Myself. These are the bricks of your citadel. This is your new code. I demand that I act with honesty even if it's difficult. I demand that I remain calm and rational when challenged. I demand that I live by my principles, not by popular opinion. I demand that I show courage even if I feel fear. Do you see the power shift? The first list is a list of hopes. It places your happiness entirely in the hands of unpredictable people. The second list is a list of commands. It is 100% within your control. You cannot make someone be fair, but you can always choose to be honest. You cannot force someone to like you, but you can always demand that you act with courage. From this moment on, your life's work is to stop chasing anything on the first list and to dedicate your energy entirely to mastering the second. When you stop wanting anything from a manipulator, their primary weapon, The giving or withholding of their approval becomes useless. Their leverage over you vanishes. They pull the strings, but the puppet has cut itself free. This is the first and most important step in building your fortress. But once the walls are up, you must also learn to defend the gate. What do you do when they launch a direct attack? When they throw their emotional bait, their guilt trips, their passive aggression, their subtle insults, right at your feet? For that, we need the second tool, a tactical skill the Stoics perfected for deflecting psychological attacks and refusing to play their game. So your walls are up. You've stopped needing their approval. But a manipulator, sensing they are losing control, will not give up easily. They will escalate. They will launch direct attacks. Subtle insults, guilt trips, and passive-aggressive comments designed to breach your defenses and pull you back into their game. They do this by presenting you with a distorted version of reality and then waiting for you to react. The moment you argue, defend yourself, or even offer a lengthy explanation, you have lost. Why? Because you have accepted their version of reality as worthy of debate. You have stepped off your own solid ground and onto their twisted playing field. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that the most powerful move in these situations is to withhold assent. This means you consciously refuse to agree with their false impression. You see the bait for what it is and you do not bite. This is a skill, and it requires practice. Here is the tactical drill. It is a Stoic-powered upgrade to a modern technique some call the gray rock method. There are 2 steps. Step 1. Label the attack, the internal action. When the bait is thrown, the sarcastic comment, the unfair accusation, your first move is purely internal. Before you speak, you pause, and in your mind you calmly label the tactic. If they say, "Must be nice to have so much free time," you think, that is an attempt to provoke guilt. If they say, "You always do this," you think, that is a false generalization. If they sigh dramatically and say, "I guess I'll just have to do it myself then," you think, that is a bid for control through victimhood. This simple act of labeling creates a space between their attack and your response. It keeps you inside your citadel, observing the battle from the high walls instead of being dragged into the mud. You are no longer a participant. You are an analyst. Step 2. The minimal response, the external action. Once you have labeled the attack, your verbal response should be minimal, calm, and factual. You are not a cold, silent rock. You are a smooth, impenetrable fortress. Your words are not a counterattack. They are a shield that deflects their energy back onto them. Your phrases are, "I see." You're entitled to that perception. "I'll have to think about that." Or the most powerful of all, a calm, thoughtful silence. They say, "I can't believe you'd be so selfish." Instead of, "I'm not selfish. How could you say that?" You pause, label it. That is an emotional accusation, and calmly say, "I'm sorry you feel that way." You have not agreed with them. You have not defended yourself. You have simply acknowledged their emotional state without accepting it as your responsibility. To a manipulator, this is maddening. They are throwing lit matches at you, expecting an explosion of defensive anger or tears. Instead, they are met with the quiet calm of someone who is simply not playing. They receive no fuel, no reaction, no drama. Your peace becomes a mirror that reflects their own chaos back at them. And there is nothing they hate more. Practicing this is not easy. But mastering these two tools, redefining what you want and refusing to assent to their reality, is the core of Stoic self-protection. It's how you go from being a target to being a fortress. So what happens when this is no longer just a technique you use, but it becomes a fundamental part of who you are? What does life feel like when you are the Citadel? That is the final and most profound transformation. So what happens when these are no longer just techniques, but they become your default state of being? What does it feel like to be the Citadel? It's not what most people think. You do not become cold, distant, or unfeeling. In fact, the opposite happens. You become more present, more authentic, and more capable of genuine connection than ever before. The constant low-grade anxiety of managing other people's perceptions simply dissolves. The mental energy you once spent replaying conversations, worrying about judgment, and trying to please everyone is now freed up for things that truly matter. There is a quietness in your mind that you may not have felt since you were a small child. You begin to radiate a calm, solid confidence. It's not loud or arrogant. It's a deep-seated tranquility that comes from knowing your sense of worth is no longer up for negotiation. You can listen to feedback without shattering. You can say no without guilt. You can speak your truth without needing anyone to applaud. And here is the great reversal, the beautiful paradox of this entire practice. The emotional predator who is always scanning for a reaction looks at you and finds nothing. Your calm is a puzzle they can't solve. Your self-sufficiency is a language they don't speak. To them, you have become boring, a waste of energy. You haven't had to fight them, yell at them, or even cut them off. You simply made yourself an inhospitable environment, and like a parasite without a host, they instinctively wither and drift away in search of easier prey. But it doesn't stop there. This new energy doesn't just repel the unhealthy, it attracts the healthy. Other people who are grounded, authentic, and self-reliant will recognize a fellow traveler. Your relationships begin to change. The drama is replaced by depth. The games are replaced by genuine connection. You no longer attract people who want something from you, but people who want to build something with you. You stop being a target and become a standard. And you finally understand that true freedom was never about changing the people around you. It was about building a place inside yourself that no one could ever conquer. This journey from target to fortress begins with a single conscious decision. It's a declaration that the old way of living is over. If this message has resonated with you, I want you to make that declaration now. Go to the comments section and write this sentence. A command to yourself and a message to the world. My inner peace is not for sale. Putting these words out there is more than just typing on a screen. It is an act of commitment. It is the first brick you lay for your inner citadel. If you are ready to continue this training and build an unbreakable mind, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. This is not a one-time fix, it is a daily practice. And our journey together has just begun. Thank you for watching. Now go lay that first brick.